Welcome to this next episode of the Beloved Miracles Couples Project. Today we are reaching from Norway to South Tampa, Florida, USA. Hello, Michael.
Hey, how are you? Thank you so much for inviting me. I would not have missed this for the world.
It's an honor to have you, my friend. Let me do a short introduction of you here. Michael Farino got started in the industry at the age of 22 and was able to retire at the age of 32. He built an organization of well over 127,000 reps and roughly $15 million in monthly billing. Next, he applied himself to working behind the scenes of some of the largest network marketing companies in the industry, helping them to grow upwards of $1 billion in annual sales. Today, Michael empowers entrepreneurs to learn the proper mindset and skill sets that are necessary in 2017 digital world. So Michael, where does your story begin?
Oh my gosh. It starts, I guess if you want to say it, it started at the age of 22 and I had an aha moment. One of the biggest things that took place is that I was and I understand folks, I'm just an average kid from Southern California. I was a beer drinking surfer who liked fish tacos. I used to pump concrete for a living. In Southern California at 22, I was making about 50 grand a year. My best friend was my boss. I always thought that I'd be taken care of. And at the early age of 22, I had an aha moment and I realized that my boss had me in a situation where he was paying me just enough so I could get by. And when I went to him one day asking him for an extra $500 a month, he told me to go get a part-time job. Now the hard part was the fact that if being a concrete kid, I was always taught that, my father instilled in me, go to the job 15 minutes early, make sure you're always early, make sure you're the last one to leave, your boss, take care of your equipment, take care of your job, and your job will take care of you. And anytime that my boss ever asked me to hang the Christmas lights on his house, or 2 o'clock in the morning get the horrible phone call that someone broke into the yard, that I would drive 45 minutes at night and sleep in the truck the rest of the day, the rest of the evening or in the morning after securing up the building and going to work. And we were best of friends. I really did feel that. And when I went to him one day and asked him for an extra $500, he said, get yourself a part-time job. And if that part-time job affects your full-time, then you're going to need a full-time. And I asked him a very simple question. Well, where's the equity that I'm building in your business? Because that's what my father was telling me all the time, that I was building equity by showing up early, by leaving late, by actually making the extra strides that are necessary for the boss to always recognize. And he said, no, there is no equity. This is my business. I pay you what I pay you because you don't have the stresses. He says, you don't have any skin in the game when it comes to this business. The reason why the lights are on and there's gas in the trucks and there's jobs to go to and your paycheck's always on time is because I'm the one who took all the risk. And if you think you can go take the risk on your own, I'll bury you as a competitor. And from that moment on, I knew that I was building somebody else's dream. And when I had that aha, I got involved in the industry of network marketing. And I'll tell you what, I struggled. I know a lot of people do. It was new to me. I didn't understand how to open up conversations. I didn't know how to market products or have a great message. And over the period of time, I actually got myself in front of a mentor who took me underneath of his wing. And with a little bit of blessing and some luck, I was able to build a large organization and retire young. So I guess that was my story. I guess that was my story, Scott.
And so you found a different mindset as well, right? I mean, it sounds like the networking industry had a different way of competing than a more traditional business that you came from. And I'm curious as well, is this where you would say like this idea of a system started to show up for you when you stepped into this industry? Did you begin to notice systems in application?
Well, when I first started, I didn't even understand what a system was. I was always taught to get to work early and everything was already there for me. So when you're in network marketing and you first start out, you kind of feel like you're left alone. You're told that there's trainings and there's books to read and there's things to accomplish. I needed to make money. So I really didn't take the time to learn the systems that were in the processes that were put into place with that company that I joined. And when I finally got in front of the mentor, I'll never forget the chance that I had. He was making about $8 million a year at the time when I met him. And I had a chance where we had a run-in with nobody around us. And he said, okay, kid, one question. And the question that I asked was, how do I build and develop a large organization? He says, stay new and let somebody else do the heavy lifting. And then I realized what he meant by, later on, what he meant by the heavy lifting was there were systems into place, and if I can keep myself new and not try to become an expert, not try to become a know-it-all, and if I can just have other people do the heavy lifting that are already experts and already use systems and the processes that are already put into place, I can win and win big. And that's what I did. And a lot of times I felt that those systems could be simplified. They could be, I started having more of a mathematical mind of breaking down on what does it take to help build and develop a relationship? How can I crunch time from the moment that I expose a product or a service to the sale to them duplicating that? And when I got out of working for corporate after retiring and going back behind the scenes of some of the largest network marketing companies, I really wanted to find a system where I could actually help people grow, not just financially. I think that's where a big mistake is. I think if you're not growing mentally, physically, socially, spiritually, as well as financially, you're gonna find yourself on that track, that road to success. And if you don't grow in those other areas, by the time that you get to the finish line, which you will, you definitely can get to the end, but you're gonna find yourself alone. You're gonna find yourself empty. And that's basically where I found myself at 32. I was empty. I made more money in a month than I ever did in a year being a construction kid. I was able to do a lot of things with friends and family. But at the end of the night, at the end of the day, I was going home alone. I was always trying to find people to do things with that couldn't, because they didn't take the same risks that I did. And, they always had to go to their job. They always had to go back to work, or they couldn't do the things that I was able to do. And then I realized that I was doing the system wrong. I wasn't growing in the different areas that I needed. And that's when I really started working on building a better Michael. And it was amazing, because within a matter of a year or two, I started dating, I fell in love, built a beautiful relationship, had a beautiful child, and I thought I did everything right. And I'll tell you, when you're trying to build and develop this alone, you have no one to share your wins with. And I think that's one of the most important parts of what this industry does. It gives you the ability to bring people with you. It does. You bring your family, you bring some friends, you bring some, business partners. And then the fun part is that as you get and divide into the business, as you grow and mature inside the business, you build relationships of people that may not be directly tied to your income, but the friendships and the camaraderie, but the most important, the culture, really impacts you long term. So I can just tell you from experience, learn from my mistake of trying to do this all by yourself, and engage with your loved ones. And if they don't see the dream, if they don't understand the dream, it's okay. Make sure you take them along the way. Don't put them in a room and lock the door while you go build it. If they give you grief in the beginning, they don't understand your dream, it's okay. Let them see your successes. Celebrate your successes, even if they're very small, with them along the way. Try not to share the downs. Try to share just the ups, because what happens is as you grow, you're mentally, physically, and socially and spiritually really taking off, and that could scare them. But when the financial part comes and they're able to see the fruit that you've planted and that you're starting to harvest and the things that it can do for your kids, such as, you know, maybe it's a better education, maybe it's better food, maybe it's a better zip code, maybe it's a better transportation, maybe it's just maybe a little bit better vacation. Those are the wins that you can share with your loved ones, and to show that this is paying off and this is something that is dearly close to you, because you know what the end result would be, and that is to have the freedoms that you want, to do the things that you want when you want, but remember, with who you want. So if they're not with you along the way, you're going to find yourself empty at the end, and that's a horrible place to be. And that's why I think that, you know, after maturing on my own and having the growth and the awareness level that you're going to get in this industry is just absolutely amazing.
Wow, this is rich, Michael. So part of me wants to ask you to turn back to Hands of Time if you could, but I don't know if it's necessary. Let's see how the question comes here. It's around systems again. Like, how would you have known earlier on? You're very clear about it today, but for the couples that we're speaking to, how would they know early on, some early warning signs or some early milestones to know that they have this sounds like a more holistic approach, right? How do they know a system is developing them inside as well as outside?
How do they catch on to that? How do they start their awareness level?
Yeah, what keys or clues or awarenesses would you offer to them to make sure that a system is not the same system that you had great success with from 22, right, to 32? I mean, you broke out financially. How would you have known then? Or how would you speak to yourself then and say, hey, take notice of this, or hey, consider adding this to the system that you're implementing?
Well, you know what's so unique is back then, the way that business was done is that you would put your whole entire, you'd put everybody you've ever known on a list. So one of the biggest problems is that you were to put everybody on a list, but you weren't taught the communication skills that were necessary to properly approach them. And what a lot of people do in the beginning of their career is they ambush and puke information rather than approach and pique interest. Well, I think that's almost in everything that you do. But now today, if you fast forward, today's systems and the processes are put into place to actually keep you from doing that. And that's what's so unique about our industry, because it's evolved where you can literally go out in a matter of a month and take that list of everybody you know, friends, family, business associates, whatever the case may be. And if you misproperly used that list and did this ambush and puke mentality, you'd find yourself in what I call the NFL. That's no friends left or no families left, right? But today there's actually systems in place. If you pay attention, and that's a key element right there. Paying attention is a key element. And it's in every aspect of your life. You really need to pay attention. Am I putting too much time in my work? Am I putting too much time in my relationships? Am I not putting enough time? You really have to have this pay attention mentality. But today there's safety nets that automated systems show you, hey, this is what you can, like one of the systems I work with right now actually shows you a shortcut on how to open up a conversation. What to post, when to post, how to post it. And then from there, it tells you how to, remember what I was told by my mentor was, let somebody else do the heavy lifting. Once they are attracted to what you're posting, then you can then move them over and introduce them to an expert who can explain the business in a proper manner where you don't have to be the expert or the question person. Does that make sense? Because
it does.
I think a lot of times,
patience, right? There's an element of patience involved in this.
Absolutely. And that was not taught in the beginning days. You were taught to just literally go out on fire. We called it ignorance on fire. Okay. And then if you look at the industry back in the early 90s, we had the ignorance on fire mentality. You basically go and ambush and puke on anybody that will actually be within a 3-foot radius. I mean, we literally would teach people to keep a little mirror in your pocket, and if you put it up underneath their nose and it fogged up, they need to hear about your business opportunity. And if it didn't fog up, that means they were dead, and you can't recruit the dead. So it was hilarious that people would literally walk around with pockets and go, hey, excuse me, oh, it fogged up. Do you mind if I take a few minutes to explain what I do for a living? I don't know how they ever made that work, but they did. And today we have systems now through social media where you can put out a little bit of information, be patient enough to watch it come back to you. Comments, likes, and shares. And then from there, there's systems that tell you, okay, they've accomplished step 1. Now you can go on to step 2. You're going to patiently introduce them to somebody else that can do an effective presentation. And the business is no longer a follow-up. You know, that was a word that was used in the, you know, at the millennium, where people would always use, well, the money was in the follow-up. There is no money in follow-up. That's a convincing mentality. If I have to follow up with somebody and convince you to join a business, I'm going to be convincing you every day to stay in that business, right? And then, but we're not in the convincing business. We're in the sorting business. So, and these are things that are all built in systems now that teach you how to sort rather than convince. And those are the systems that make this industry such a great industry to be in, because I don't think there's a better time to join than right now. This industry doesn't matter, because, and it doesn't matter if you're in a, and I mean this in the kindest way. I don't care if you're in a potion, lotion, diet dust, skinny powder, voodoo juice, mummy wrap, magic bean, or water program. Everyone knows that health and wellness and technology is probably the hottest things to be into right now. And the chance for you to leverage yourself into multi-billion-dollar companies, I mean, multi-billion-dollar industries, for pennies is amazing to me. I mean, to get involved in a technology company today for less than $1,000 is a joke, knowing what it can do, right? I mean, think about the people that actually invested into Microsoft in the 80s and they put $200–300 in. They're worth over $6 million today. So if you have a chance to leverage yourself into a technology or to a health and wellness industry, and you're able to then use the systems that have been put into place and to start to grow and mature something as a family, not only will you be able to have a healthier lifestyle, have more technology around you that will actually make it where it's automated so you can actually go enjoy the things that you want to. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of great things out there. You just got to find a company that makes sense to you and allow those systems to work for you.
To bring this full circle, because you've really covered this nicely, I almost have nothing else to ask you. I think maybe a wrap-up question would be along the lines of any advice specific to what you just said. So here as an individual or a couple being introduced to a system, but there's many to choose from, right? There's a lot of distraction, a lot of noise, a lot of different industries actually implementing this business model now. Any advice you'd give them, Michael, to make sure that it is a good fit, a proper fit for them?
Wow, yeah, there's actually a couple things that I'd recommend. Take your emotions out of it first. Think about it logically. A lot of people join emotionally because maybe a friend or a family member or a well-written email came across their laptop, right? Or it's in their email box. And they emotionally get charged to it without really thinking about, is this really a fit for my personality? One of the questions I've always asked people is, if you're going to invest a one-time investment in a business, what would that investment be without breaking the bank, right? And it's amazing to me where if someone's looking at let's say that they're looking at a nutrition product, a nutritional company, and the best way to buy in is at the highest level, which is, let's say, $2,400. And they want to invest $250 into their business. chances are they're not really going to have the right amount of support. They're not going to have the right amount of product to demo. They're not going to have the certain amount of things that they need, such as a back office, to be able to have the success to learn the systems, to actually learn the systems that they need. And then I ask them, what are you willing to go on an ongoing monthly that would be comfortable for the family without stretching it, right? What would that be? Because there's an ongoing cost to do business. I mean, think about this as a family. You're gonna own a, let's say you want to buy a McDonald's, and you put up you put up a large sum of money for a McDonald's, and then when it comes to purchasing the product, you're like, wait, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do it a little different. We're gonna have you come up to the drive-thru, place your order, come up to the first window. We're gonna have you pay for it, and then we're gonna tell you that we're gonna go ahead and it'll be here in a week. We're gonna pre-order everything because we're not sure people are gonna buy from our McDonald's, so we want to cover our investment. See, and that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They need to understand that they have to have their product or service on hand so people can use it immediately, right? So what I try to tell people is that you got to understand that if you're going to buy McDonald's, you better damn well have enough hamburgers, cups, straws, napkins, condiments, and you better have an area where you got fresh fries and the shakes, and you're going to have all those things in place because that's what your client is accustomed to. They're accustomed to having that on hand. And so when you're in a technology company, which is so amazing, and this is why I really like technology companies, is because they usually have a service that within a matter of minutes, you have your hands on. And I love that. You don't have to warehouse it. You know, you don't have to put it underneath you don't have to hide it in your trunk or put it underneath your bedroom, underneath your bed or your coffee table, because it's technology. And when you're able to use technology in today's age, such as systems, so I think there's a lot of great network marketing companies out there, but a lot of reps have gone through that list, like we talked about, that NFL, and they don't know how to use the systems to attract people online. So that's why I really like a lot of technology companies right now, because I think that's where the industry is going to be going, where people want to have conversations faster with people that are already interested in their product. So what I try to do is I try to gear the personality when a family has made a decision that they want to go from WANNA-PRENEUR to entrepreneur, to really take the time and figure out what are the family's necessary needs. How much time and energy is mom and dad going to put into the company? Do they have to rush home from work, get changed, and then go back out? And then, you know, spend the night driving across town to do a business opportunity or approach and peak interest piece, do a demo of a product or a service? You know, what are the time frames that they have to put outside of the house? Because if it's really a work from home, are you really working from home? See, some companies are not a real work from home. Yeah, your business has ran out of your house, but you're running out of your house every night is not really a work from home mentality. And isn't that the real reason that you got in, is to spend more time with your family? And that's something that I really want people to think about when they're looking at business opportunities. How much time out of the home do they have to spend to make it work? Because that will put a strain on families, especially the husband and wife, because if only one of them's working it and the other one is supporting by staying home, making sure that the kids are all right, kids are going to bed, the kids are being fed, and the other one is out running, running opportunity meetings, running demos, that can put a strain on families. And that's not what this is supposed to do. This is supposed to bring families together. So I'm telling you, that's a big thing with me.
Michael, I think we're going to have to do this again soon. I mean, I just have a sense there will be some questions from those who are going to get this introduction to your brilliance, man. I mean, it's just sharp. I mean, your experience of decades now is just so clear. You understand where the industry's come from and where it is today in terms of this digital 2017 landscape. And I love your emphasis on paying attention, right? Just some real basic common sense, self-awareness, self-development, recognizing, logistically what it is we're choosing and balancing. And then the patience. It's just such a sweet, sweet combination, my friend. Would you be agreeable that if we have some questions that want to go deeper into these topics, that we could come back to this again in a short time?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if you want to bring on an audience, I'd love to be able to chat with the audience, and because they're asking questions that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. And when that moment comes, I think that's magic in a bottle. That's lightning in a bottle, because if that one person has it, there must be hundreds that have that same question. And that's probably one of the best things that I like to do is I always take a group and I call out one, and we actually go and dive into their business and we critique it, and we really help them build and develop. Maybe they're missing maybe they're missing a little bit on a brand. Maybe they're a little bit missing on their message. Maybe their target audience is off a little bit. Maybe they're trying to be a target audience that doesn't even relate to their own personality. I've seen so many people try to make a jump from WANNA-PRENEUR to entrepreneur, and then they go, okay, I need a target audience. Well, I'm going to go after this group of people who they don't even relate to. But they study, they learn, they do their due diligence, and they deconstruct what that target audience really needs. And then the funny part is they can't relate to them. And it's way out of their box. It's way out of their comfort zone, which I want everybody to be out of your comfort zone. But I don't want you to be so far out that you're not even relatable to your own target market. So if you're a man trying to tap into stay-at-home moms, that's a tough one to come across. You see what I mean? I mean, it's not like every day that you're going to be relatable to stay-at-home moms if you're a man. Because moms think differently, they react to things differently, and their idea of success may be completely different from your own. And if you try to fake it to make it, they're going to smell that, just like a dog does to fear, and they will run. And that's where a lot of people make mistakes. They really try to outthink themselves in their own target market. And if they can just have someone come in and ask the right questions and really get an understanding of who they are, you'll be amazed on how fast they can turn their business around.
I love it, man. I want to just keep listening to you because you're like an encyclopedia of obviously firsthand experience. This isn't just theory stuff. I mean,
this is
yeah, you've been there. You've been there. You've done that. You've seen it. You've tasted it and felt it. And thank you, Michael. I mean, it's rich, it's really rich. And I'm looking forward to the feedback we'll get to this and what we can do to do some deeper diving. For now, I feel like we brought it full circle. Is there anything else you'd want to make sure we include right now to couples that are building together?
Couples, if I can leave you with one, I'm going to leave you something that my grandfather shared with me on his deathbed. And it was funny because I was 16 years old when he said this, and my father reminded me on my wedding day. He said, there's 3 keys to a very successful marriage. And one of the first keys is get rid of your king-size bed because there's too much room there. And if you roll to the left and your husband or spouse rolls to the left or to the right, then there's a lot of room there for the devil. So get rid of your king-size bed. Second thing is I was told to fight naked in the bedroom. Never, ever never, ever air your laundry in public. And if you've got to have an argument, you take it to the bedroom and you strip down first, and then you have the argument. So I thought that was pretty good. And then, the third thing that my grandfather shared with me and that my dad reminded me on my wedding day is that you always have to have respect for one another. And you have to show it in public more than you show it at home. And when you show respect, you never talk down, you never criticize, you never poke at a person in public, your loved one in public, because it will come back to bite you in the butt. So I can tell you, when you're trying to build a business, I would highly recommend the same thing. Make sure you have a queen size bed. Make sure Make sure if you're going to have an argument about how the business is going, make sure you're naked in the bedroom by yourselves. And when you're out and about and someone wants to take a shot at your spouse or your loved one, and don't jump into it and poke fun at their business. Respect them, back them, go home and say, hey, you know what? They did make a funny comment, and that I agree with them. But you do it behind the scenes, and I think you'll go a hell of a lot farther. So that's all I can give you, man. That's all I got.
Oh, it's good. It's really good. There's so many seeds here, seeds that hopefully will find the right environment. And with a little bit of that right environment, they can sprout. And you're just, you're a good farmer, man. I get this image of you just casting out a lot of seeds in wisdom that you've shared with us here from your grandfather of all sources, and a wise man he was.
Yeah, it's pretty funny because when you really think about it, it made a lot of sense. It didn't make a lot of sense when I was 16, but boy, it sure did make a lot of sense when I got married. It really does.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and it emphasizes how I like to wrap this up from my perspective or my experience. This idea that together we overcome, and I hear that in your grandfather's 3 steps. Right? Is this awareness that it's not a one-man show or a one-woman show. Making mama happy. This, it's truly that together, the two naked in the bedroom, if they need to go at it with each other, it has to be done together. So I throw that out as well, that you and I've come together, Michael, and I look forward to who will join and plug into this message, that we can further come together and see what we all, in a united fashion, can overcome. So thank you so much from Norway. Signing off, Michael. Until next time.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you.